Hola, hola. This is Cristina.
And Carmen.
And this is Spooky Tales, a podcast for all things spooky, true crime, in Latin America, haunted places, legends, things like that. And that's what we're doing today. So yeah, we've got a listener story, we have a paranormal topic, and then my true crime topic. So before you share the listener story, a quick reminder that you can catch us live November 1st, 2025 at El Cucuy is going to get you November 1st, 2025. Doors open at 6:30 in Yakima. The link is in the show notes. It's going to be great. We're going to be telling spooky stories. It's going to be us and Jonathan from Latinos Against Spooky Shit. And yeah, scary stories, spooky mercado, things, food. It's going to be a good time.
Fun stuff.
Link is in the show notes. Okay. And then, yeah, before you share the listener story, you can send us your stories at spookytales@gmail.com. You can submit it on Discord. You can call the spooky hotline. You can record a voice note and email that to us. You can also leave a voicemail on our website. There's so many ways to get us the stories, and we love receiving them.
Okay, so listener story?
Yes.
All right. Chaffee High School in Ontario, California is haunted. At least there's a lot of stories. I was a Chaffee High School student, class of 2009. I was a theater kid from 2005 to 2007, and I can confirm seeing and hearing things down in the basement of the theater. One time I went down to get a prop, and from the other side of the room, it felt like something was watching me. But then I began to hear shuffling and movement, and I ran upstairs. So the bell tower story with the dead girl, that one is true as well. So one night around 2 a.m., I was leaving a friend's house and I saw her at the tower, just standing there looking as I passed the school. I watched her turn and watch me. I ran and looked back, and then she was gone. It's scary.
It is scary.
Yeah.
I love a haunted school story, though. I don't want to attend. I'm so glad I never attended a haunted school. As far as we know, we didn't have any experiences at school.
No, I always swore that Dolores Huerta, but it probably wasn't. But
no, it was just stories we told as kids, but nobody had a verifiable experience.
I remember everyone used to say a lady would look through the window.
Through the windows, but I never saw anything.
Me either.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I would never have.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for that story, and let's do the paranormal topic.
Okay. So this is about the Cementerio General de Guatemala. The Guatemala City General Cemetery is the biggest cemetery in Central America and is also super haunted. It is located in La Zona 3 of Guatemala City, and it's full of elegant mausoleums, and at first it was made for the rich elite of the city.
As all cemeteries.
Typical cemeteries.
Yeah.
Reminds me of what Panteón de Belén, which we love.
We do love it.
Love is my favorite cemetery. It was built in 1880 during the presidency of General Justo Rufino Barrios. Is this a presidency or is this a dictatorship?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked into this time period of Guatemala.
Okay. Just asking.
Yeah.
The artistic vision was inspired from movements like neoclassicism, romanticism, and Art Nouveau. New art.
Fancy. Fancy and very European.
It was originally built with perfect symmetry, perfectly aligned streets, and luxurious tombs.
Wow. This sounds like a commercial for the cemetery.
Wow. Put me in one of those. So yeah, it was one of the first public buildings to have electric lights. And how sad the dead people get the electric lights first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The rich dead people.
Yeah, I was going to say rich dead people.
And so it also happened to contain 8 Mayan hills within it. These hills were part of Caminalihuyu, which means the Hill of the Dead. And this was a pre-Columbian Mayan site where Guatemala City is today, and has been described as one of the greatest archaeological sites in the New World. These hills surround an old field that some believe was used to play ceremonial ball, but it's more narrow and longer compared to other fields. So it's not for sure.
Okay.
But what is for sure, these lands contain history.
And they were destroyed for this rich people cemetery. Is that where we're going?
Yeah. You know it, sister. At first, the plan was to keep these hills intact and build the most exclusive tombs within the 8 hills. But over time, the hills were modified and destroyed.
Sounds about right.
The first hill was used to build a tomb of former President Justo Rufino, and the Mayan hill needed to be emptied to build this. So that was the history. Now, the hauntings.
Yes.
Cecilio del Pinal works at the cemetery. And one day, a woman walked up to him saying, Mijo, me hace el favor de adornar? Son, can you do me the favor of decorating? She had brought her own flowers in and was asking him to place them on a tombstone for her. And he agreed because it was part of his job. And so he took the flowers and followed the woman to a grave. And she stopped in front of it and pointed for him to place the flowers. And so he did. And this wasn't one of the tombstones that are on the ground. It was one of the ones that are stacked like on a wall of tombs. I'm sure everyone has seen those. She was pointing at the second most highest one. And there were also 2 bouquets. So after he placed the first one, he climbed down. And when he turned around, the woman was nowhere to be seen. And her bouquet was on the ground. So he was like, what? And he picked up the second bouquet facing the tombstone, confused. And that's when he took a moment to look at the picture on the grave. And it was the very same woman that had asked him to place the flowers on the grave.
No.
Oh my God.
No, mames.
Oh my God.
No.
But you know what? Get your own flowers, girl.
You put them up next time.
So our second story from the cemetery. Doña Lolita, whose husband passed away a few years ago, is at the cemetery at least once a week. And she goes to visit him, puts fresh flowers on his grave, make sure it's clean, you know, the usual.
Yeah.
Well, during one of these normal weekly visits, as she was cleaning her husband's plot, she heard singing. Just like the last story, her husband's grave is one of those wall ones. And
so she was at the end of one of the walls.
So this wall of tombs was kind of like a hallway. And so she was at one end and she heard the singing on the other end of the row of the hall. But it was early in the day and there was no mariachi or anything like that. It was just like a cappella singing that she heard. So she walked over there just to see and there was nothing there. So she walked all the way back down to her husband's grave and continued cleaning. And then she heard the singing again. She was like, what the fuck? And so she walked back and turned the corner thinking, okay, maybe they're on the other side and I just didn't see them before. But when she looked, there was no one there.
Mm-mm.
So she walked back again and this time ran into a friend.
One that was alive, I hope.
Oh, I hope so.
No, yeah, she was.
At this point, she just thought it was just, you know, just some little hooligan, some little kid, some youth messing with her. But again, she didn't see anyone around where the singing was at. And as she was leaving into the cemetery, she told her friend what happened. And this friend told her, no, doña, that was not anyone alive. It's just the spirits doing what they didn't get to do while they were living, singing a cappella together in the cemetery. Okay, it's kind of cute.
Yeah.
And Doña Lolita also thought it was cute. She wasn't scared or anything.
Okay.
And another woman was with her friend when they saw a girl in a pink dress wandering by herself. And they thought she was lost and wanted to get her back to her parents. So they walked around until they spotted her again. So she ran past them and then they're like, okay, well, let's try to catch up to her. And they ran after her. And then they watched this girl run straight into a mausoleum and vanish.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so speaking of that little girl, people do hear the laughter of children at the cemetery. And also the sound of kids running, like little footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
And when they look, there's no kids around.
Of course not. Why would they be there?
But there is one legend that has to do with the girl. The legend has a poem tied to it, and it goes like this. Quiero la sombra de un ala, contar este cuento en flor, la niña de Guatemala, la que se murió de amor. Aww.
My heart.
I know. And now in English, I want under the shadow of a wing to tell this tale in bloom, the girl from Guatemala, she who died of love. It sounds better in Spanish.
I was going to say, it's a little more like, oh my God, in Spanish.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it kind of hits you.
Yeah, right here in the heart.
And then in English, I was just like, okay.
Doesn't hit the same.
And? No, I'm just kidding.
And? So she died of love, okay? And this poem was written by the poet Jose Marti. And it's the poem about a haunting story of a young woman who dies of unrequited love. It said that this was written about Maria Garcia Granados y Saborio, the daughter of General Miguel Garcia Granados. And she died at 18. They say that Jose Marti wrote it about her in her honor. And she's buried in the cemetery. And some believe she remains there, haunting it for eternity. Some tie her to the legend of La Niña de Negro.
A separate legend.
According to legend, during Semana Santa, Holy Week.
Always Semana Santa.
It's a time of hauntings.
It really is.
A mysterious, frail, and delicate young woman dressed in all black appears in the church of San Sebastian, located in El Centro, the center of Guatemala City. And she appears there looking like she's in pain, deep in thought. I'm picturing like a Victorian-looking child.
Yeah, like a sickly, dark circles, gaunt.
And most people just see her and that's that. They move on with their lives, not even realizing what they just saw. Those unfortunate few that she chooses to approach have a different story.
Oh.
She walks up to them and offers a gold chain. Those that take the gold chain will find that there's a piece of paper inside of the necklace. And in that paper, there's an address.
To where?
To the general cemetery.
Weird. I don't like it. I don't like it. Okay.
And by the time that the person opens the necklace and reads the address, the girl in the black is nowhere to be seen. And if that's not already creepy, it said that if you happen to take the necklace and read the address, you will lose your mind.
It's not a proper Latin American legend if someone's not losing their mind.
If your mind is intact by the end,
that's not a proper story. No.
There's also another grave known as La Tumba de la Bruja. According to legend, a bruja is buried there. This area of the cemetery is surrounded by these tall circular stones, and in the middle there's a tree. Always a tree.
If there's not a tree surrounding that grave, it's not a proper legend. Sorry, I'm literally just thinking about El Árbol del Vampiro, the vampire tree in El Panteón de Belén.
That's what I was thinking of too.
Yes.
This tree grew around a cross, and now the cross is not even visible, just the tree. Then right in front of the tree is this metal-looking door that lifts up. Underneath that is where the alleged bruja is located. And this metal door thing is locked, and no one really knows the last time it opened. You know what this reminds me of too is that book Thirsty, or is it Thirst? Thirst.
Oh, Thirst.
Where it's
the
that tomb
vampire
that
one.
no one opens, and then the key is passed down.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a vampire.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It also seems like no one knows the name of the person that is buried there, just like the book.
Oh my God, this is crazy.
But the image of it is creepy. And it's not surprising that even if there is just some normal person buried there, that legend would grow because it's creepy looking.
Yeah.
And some people believe her apparition is seen during the night, but others think it's another woman ghost. So just some ghost.
Yeah, just any old ghost. Not
the bruja. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just your average woman ghost, you know?
And this leads us to David's story.
Okay, David.
So, David was unemployed and desperately trying to find a job. So when a friend of his told him about a security position at the General Cemetery, he knew that he couldn't be picky. And he was like, I guess.
I don't know.
am unemployed.
Yeah.
So he went down there to...
That's a man right now.
Real men don't want to work at graves anymore. Cemeteries, I mean.
Yeah.
So he went down there to ask about the job on a Friday. And by the time he left, he had a start date, which is not a good sign.
No, that's a...
If they're too eager to hire you, run.
Walk
That's
away.
a red flag. So yeah, he had a start date that following Monday.
3 days.
And so yeah, that was quick, but you know, he needed a job.
Yeah.
And he showed up on Monday afternoon, and the other security guard let him know that around 8 people would start leaving, and then at 9 the entrance would be officially locked. So his job was just to do rounds, make sure no teenagers were sneaking in, things like that. And it sounded simple enough. By the time it was 9, no one was left, and he walked around in silence. As he walked, he started remembering all the stories his abuelita would tell him, stories about brujas, duendes, and ghosts. He started to get nervous, especially as the wind picked up and he could hear the leaves rustle more and more. But the night went by, and aside from psyching himself out, it was uneventful.
Okay, well, that's good for David.
But the next night,
oh no,
he went back, and he kept going back, you know, to work all fine and normal.
Okay.
But on his 7th shift, things changed. He walked around doing his rounds when he noticed an older lady. He thought someone accidentally left her after some funeral or something. So he walked up to her and told her, "Ma'am, you gotta go." No, but he said, "This area is prohibited at this hour. Please leave. I don't want to see you when I'm done with my rounds."
I don't want to see you anymore.
I don't want to see ya. And so he continued to walk, and he was finishing his lap and coming back when the old bitch was still there.
No, why?
So he was like, "The fuck?" And he stomped towards her, annoyed. And he's like, "Ma'am, I told you to leave." And so the woman looked up at him and told him, "How am I supposed to leave? This is my new home."
No.
I would have shit my pants.
Me caigo, me muero.
For real. And he didn't remember what happened after that. He probably passed out. And he did. So he passed out. He didn't know what happened after that until his partner and the other security guard found him around 3 a.m. And he asked David what happened. Why didn't he come back from his rounds? And so David told his coworker what he saw and the last thing he remembered. And his partner was like, oh, yeah, a lot of people have described seeing a woman like the one you described. And David was like, bye, bitch. He put his resignation that same night and he never looked back.
Damn. And we don't blame David for that.
They could have at least warned him, no?
They purposely, so that he wouldn't.
Hey, we got 7 shifts out of him.
Yeah. We got 7 out of this one.
This one stayed all week.
No. Wow. That's horrifying. How am I supposed to leave? This is my home.
A few moments later.
That was hilarious. Okay. And we're back with my true crime case. And this one was requested by a listener. I'm telling you and our listeners about Guadalupe Martinez de Bejarano, a.k.a. La Mujer Verdugo. That means the executioner.
Ew. What?
A.k.a. La Temible Bejarano.
Oh.
The fearsome Bejarano.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, she was one of the first serial killers in Mexican history. Notably, the first known woman serial killer.
Wow.
A trailblazer,
if you will.
Yeah, making room for, like, I don't know, Las Poquianchis. That's terrible. Don't like that. And normally I make a case not to purposely cover serial killers. I try to find, like, things about the victims first. But this was so long ago that's just not possible with this case because she was active during the Porfiriato.
Oh.
Also worth noting that this time period also gave us the other people considered the first serial killers in the history of Mexico. Felipe Espinosa, Francisco Guerrero Perez, and Rodolfo Fierro. And then Guadalupe here, who's the first woman. Trailblazing, you know.
Let women kill.
Basically. And it's no coincidence to me that they were all active during the Porfiriato, the dictatorship of Porfirio Diaz.
Because violence was rampant?
Dictatorship.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And so just a little tiny refresher on this time period. Yeah, because we love context. So, Mexico won its independence from Spain on September 27th, 1821. And though its independence had been gained, socially and politically, not much changed for the population. Power remained at the hands of the white elite. And the plan of Iguala set Mexico as an independent country that would be a limited monarchy, and the Roman Catholic Church was set as the official state church. And upper class status was given to the Spanish and then the mestizo populations, despite the fact that at the time, indigenous and African descent populations were the majority. Political turmoil and wars followed, with the presidency changing many times. Spain attempted to retake Mexico in 1829. Coups occurred in 1828 and 1833. The Mexican Revolution in 1835, and that ended in 1836. Then the Mexican-American War from 1846 to 1848. Then there was guerrilla warfare that led to the exile of Santa Anna. And then rebel leader Juan Alvarez rose to power in 1857. And they did want to reduce the wealth and power of the Catholic Church. And then they also wanted to guarantee freedom of speech and like universal male suffrage, because at the time certain populations didn't have that, you know, like indigenous populations. And conservative groups widely opposed this new reform, which led to the War of Reform, which lasted from 1857 to 1861. And so this time period there was two separate governments in Mexico at this time. There was the conservative government in Ciudad Mexico, and then the liberal government in Veracruz. And the liberal side won. And this is when Benito Juárez became president. And then Mexico was invaded by France in 1862. And then they were claiming, a lot led to this, but they were basically claiming that the Juárez government owed them money. And really, they also wanted to install a ruler that they could control. You've heard of Maximilian?
Yes.
This is this time period.
Okay.
This is what during this time period was the Battle of Puebla, which is Cinco de Mayo.
Okay.
Yes.
When we defeated the French.
In that one singular battle, but the overall war, the French won and established their government in Mexico City. And then the actual Mexican government fled. I want to say, I forgot where they fled to, but they fled. And they had few allies. Nobody recognized the French really as the government, even though they had won. And so Mexico took back the country from the French in 1867. And then Benito Juarez died of a heart attack in 1872. And then there was like, again, more turmoil up until 1877. There was another revolt against Sebastián Lerdo de Tejada, who was Benito Juárez's successor. And in 1877 is when Porfirio Díaz took control of the country.
Oh.
And during the Porfiriato, Mexico City was growing, becoming wealthy, but the wealth was at the hands of the elite. Most people lived in poverty. He really wanted to Americanize Mexico. He gave so much money and control to American businesses. And this was a difficult era. Porfirio Díaz ruled Mexico with an iron fist. There was repression, arrests, literal concentration camps for indigenous people in the Yucatan region of the country. He was especially cruel towards the Yaqui indigenous people who were met with state violence. And yeah, he was essentially a dictator up until the Mexican Revolution in 1910. And there were a few breaks between his times as president, but overall, like when you put his time together, he ruled for 30 years from 1876 up until the Mexican Revolution. And so yeah, that's the context of where these first serial killers arose in Mexico.
Wow.
Questions?
None at this time.
Okay, so now back to La Temible Bejarano, whose span of crimes go from 1877 to 1892. And so not much is known about her private life, early or private life, only that she was born in 1843 and married to a commander named Macario Bejarano. And they had one child together. His name was Aurelio Bejarano Martinez. And the family was either upper class or upper middle class. And they lived on Casa Número 1.5 de la Calle de Jesús, 1.5 Corazon Street, near where El Colegio de San Ignacio de Loyola Vicainas is today, in the historic center of Mexico City. I just wanted to say like a really long name, you know. So her first victim, and trigger warning from here on out, this is fucking terrible, all of this that she did.
Oh my God.
Her first victim was her own son, Aurelio. She regularly beat him, but it wasn't until January 14th, 1876, when he was 11 years old, that one of the neighbors learned the extent of this abuse. Emilio Diaz, the neighbor, was looking out of his window, peeking out, and he saw a boy walking outside. This boy was severely injured, with swelling and bruising all over his body, which was easier to see, like the bruises and the swelling and all that, because the boy was naked. As Emilio got closer, he realized it was Aurelio, his neighbor, and he could see that Aurelio had been lashed, parts of his skin ripped open from the lashings. Apparently, his mom, Guadalupe, regularly did this to him, locking him in a large wooden box until he stopped screaming after the lashings. But this time he escaped.
Oh my God.
And Emilio took Aurelio to his house, wrapped him in a blanket, and he thought that Guadalupe would come get him. But when she didn't, in a couple, like maybe a few hours passed, and he returned Aurelio to his house, along with a letter. And in that letter, he pleaded with Guadalupe not to punish Aurelio for not coming back home right away. He didn't want to send him back in the state that he was in, and to just like stop being so hard on him. But he didn't like go to the police right away or anything. But, you know, maybe he was scared of her too. I don't know what led him to not do anything more.
Did the police even do anything about this back then?
Right, is what I'm wondering too. So maybe he had his reasons not to say anything else other than write that letter to her.
I mean, it's sad.
It is so sad. In response to that letter, Guadalupe told Emilio that Aurelio deserved this for being a poor student and a bad son, and that she knew Emilio intended to report her to the authorities for her constant punishment to Aurelio. And then she said that Aurelio, quote, manifests very clearly his little to no love for me, for work, or for study. That he deserved this because he didn't work or study, or he was a bad son.
Oh my God.
And apparently it took Emilio years to report her, by the time he reported her, someone else had also reported her for the murder of Casimira Juarez.
So then Aurelio was still alive at this point?
Yeah, Aurelio was alive the whole time. Just he was the first person who faced her abuse.
So I thought you were saying he was her first victim, like being killed.
Well, no, victim as in beatings.
Wow. I mean, that's terrible. But of course, someone who's willing to kill most of the time, not always.
Does it to someone else first, right? Like, there's like a ramping up of the violence.
Right. Well, I was going to say they most of the time abuse their children.
Oh, yeah, that too.
And even when they don't physically abuse them, they are like controlling and have anger, impulses, things like that.
Yeah, there's always something there. And so, Emilio, the neighbor, didn't say anything about this until she was also being arrested now for the murder of another kid years later.
But you said her crimes went on for past this, right?
Oh, well, I said 1877, and her beating her son, that it was found out, it was, what year was this? 1876. So a couple years later is when she was arrested.
Okay.
Sorry, the years, it depends what source you're looking at. They change by one.
I guess because you said her crime spanned until 1892. So then I was like,
well, she's not done. This is the beginning.
Oh, so she was okay, go on.
Yeah, this is the beginning. So,
oh my God.
So yeah, a couple years after she was seen, or that Aurelio, her son, was like wandering the streets injured and naked, she was arrested on June 21st, 1878. The building caretaker reported her, and it's a little unclear if he like overheard something and that's why he reported her, or what actually led to this. There's not a lot of information out there. I found this on Infobay, which they have a lot of like news stuff.
Oh, sorry, I just realized. So she was arrested 2 years
after the incident with Aurelio
for beating Aurelio.
Yes. No. For the murder. And that's when Emilio was like, well, also, she beat her son.
Oh, okay. So how did this murder happen then?
That's what I'm about to share.
Okay.
So yeah, again, it's a little unclear to me how the caretaker found out, because he's the one who reported her to the police. So this is the account that I found on Infobay, which is also the only place I could find more details on this woman. So it seems that the caretaker reported her to the police, and then police found a 12-year-old girl under the first flight of stairs that led to where she lived, which was like, you walk in this entrance and then there's just like houses. And so kind of like, you know how, imagine like a vecindad situation, but for rich people. So it's like a gated area and you walk in and then there's like a communal patio.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, so in that there's a set of stairs that goes up to where the houses are at.
Oh, okay.
So police, after the caretaker of this entire building reported her, went to this area. They went in, and under the first flight of stairs that led to the houses, they found a 12-year-old girl. And again, this is terrible, so warning. So the girl was lying on the ground, face like on the ground. Surrounded by insects and trash. She had rope burns around her wrists and ankles, bruises everywhere, and a very, very deep wound on her head.
Oh my God.
That was like open and old, where apparently like maggots were growing out of the wound.
Oh my God.
Horrifying. And there were burns on her mouth and in her genitals. And the girl begs for water. She was so scared. She was taken to the hospital, where she later died. Aww. And her name was Casimira Juarez. And it turns out that Guadalupe had hired Casimira to work for her as a housemaid. But apparently if Casimira did something wrong, and that could be anything.
Wow.
Guadalupe's punishments were extremely violent. And so supposedly what she did to this girl was a punishment for her, like not cleaning something right.
I just can't get, it's like so excessive, and that's like an understatement.
Right. And so she was arrested. There was a trial. Aurelio, her son, testified against his mother during this trial, where he included the abuse that he faced because of her too. And because of his testimony and witness to Casimira, because he was like 13 years old at this time. She was sentenced to 13 years in prison, which she began to serve on June 27th, 1878. But so many journalists and like those that were keeping up with the case just could not believe that a woman like her, a rich nice-looking woman could be capable of something like this. Like, they would describe her.
Sexism strikes again.
Right. Like, let women be guilty too.
Yes, women can be. No, but they can be abusers.
No, yeah, they certainly can. Like, we're being serious now.
Yeah, it's serious mode.
They can most certainly abuse both men, children, and other women. They can certainly do that. Yes, but no, they thought, no, not her, not someone from that family, not someone who's married, not a mother
from la sociedad.
Yes, exactly. And they literally described her as someone with gentle and kind eyes, not someone with the eyes of a hardened criminal.
Oh my God.
And so they started believing that Guadalupe Martinez de Bejarano deserved mercy. And they did not let down. And then Porfirio Diaz himself pardoned her 8 years into her 13-year sentence.
Oh my God.
On August 26, 1886. And so she got out.
Wow.
And after her release, she seemed to be laying low. Like, there was nothing notable about her until 1891. Some sources say 1892. She was arrested again, this time for the murder of the Pineda sisters. Some sources say it was only Crescencia Pineda and not sisters. And that's the most detailed account of this crime. So I'll share that one first. So I couldn't find the date, just the year, which was either 1891 or 1892. So at an unknown date, taking place in either 1891 or 92, Aurelio Bejarano rushed into the San Andres Hospital in Mexico City, and he was carrying a girl, but she was so disfigured, it was hard to even like the doctors were like, what are we looking at?
Oh my God.
The girl had bruises, burns, and cuts all over her body. And the doctors and nurses kept asking, who is she? Who is the patient? What is her name? But Aurelio would not talk until a woman named Eulogia Monroy arrived at the hospital with police. And Eulogia was Crescencia's tia, her aunt, and she had been searching for her niece who hadn't been home in a few days. And it's unclear to me how Crescencia started working for Guadalupe, but she did. She would do cleaning or run errands for Guadalupe, and then she would go back home to her tia, Eulogia. And at some point, she didn't go home. And so Eulogia tried asking Guadalupe where her niece was, but Guadalupe would tell her, oh, I sent her to go get medicine all the way in Puebla. And the exact age isn't shared, but Crescencia, is in between 12 and 15 years old. So that's like, if she's 12, that's a little young to send her all the way to Puebla by herself to pick up medicine. So Eulogia didn't believe this. And she had already gone to the police repeatedly to try and report her niece missing. I could not find how she found out her niece was in the hospital, but she did arrive with police there. And she was like, that boy or that man, because I think at this point Aurelio was 18. Aurelio and Guadalupe kept Crescencia and they kept her prisoner and they flogged her. That's what she told them. And so Aurelio was taken away, arrested as well. And Crescencia died the next day. And Guadalupe was also arrested at this point. And through the trial, it was discovered that Aurelio was not actually involved in the beating.
Okay. I was just going to ask, like, was he just like his mom doing this too? But I didn't want to believe that.
No, right. So it appears that he wasn't, but he was given a 2-year sentence for his inaction.
Like he didn't step in sooner.
Yes.
Like I get it because he's probably scared of his mom.
Yeah. Yeah. And his whereabouts after his 2-year sentence was served are unknown. Some people believed he joined the military. As for Guadalupe, she received a 10-year sentence, 10 years and 8 months. And she was sent to the Belen prison for women, but she had to be isolated for her own safety because other inmates hated her for what she did. And then she ended up dying of natural causes just a few years into her sentence. I couldn't find exactly, but she didn't serve the full 10 years because she died. And so there's, that's one version of events. There's another version. This is the one where there's not a lot of information out there. But in this version, Guadalupe and Crescencia Pineda were employed by Guadalupe, and she abused and tortured them for months. But the time the police found the sisters, they had been dead for weeks after months of abuse. Guadalupe would hang them, whip them, and then make them sit on a burning brazier. I don't know how you say that. But it's basically this like stove thing that you can heat up like a pot or bath.
Oh, pot. Okay, wow.
And she would also starve them. And so they either died from their injuries or from starvation after months of being in under Guadalupe's employment. And so those are the two versions of either she killed Crescencia Piñada or both of the sisters. And over time, she was largely forgotten. But during the second trial, she was infamous. There was like newspaper after newspaper. Jose Guadalupe Posada, do you know who he is?
No.
He basically invented the Catrina, like the drawing.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, this is him. He painted a painting of her.
Very scary.
Yeah, it's a little morbid, which he was known to draw morbid things. It was his thing. And then Antonio Vanegas Arroyo wrote a corrido about her. And it took me a while to find the words. I was hoping to find someone singing it, but I couldn't.
Oh.
But I did find the words. So here they are in Spanish, and I'll read them in English. Con una crueldad atroz, la terrible Bejarano ha cometido la infamia, el crimen más inhumano. Iracunda martiriza aquellas carnes tan tiernas, con terribles quemaduras en los brazos y en las piernas. Y a pesar de su maldad, es digna de compasión, de lo que debe sufrir encerrada en su prisión. Y allá, entre la negra sombra de su oscuro calabozo, de la víctima inocente, verá el espectro espantoso. En la inocente Crescencia, martiriza de tal suerte que esta víctima inocente halló una temprana muerte. Años hace que otro crimen igual a este cometió, y por el cual la justicia a prisión la sentenció. And now in English, with atrocious cruelty, the terrible Bejarano has committed infamy, the most inhumane crime. In wrath, she tortures those tender fleshes with terrible burns on the arms and legs. And despite her wickedness, she is worthy of compassion for what she must suffer locked in her prison. And there enters the black shadow of her dark dungeon of the innocent victim. She will see the frightful specter. She tortures the innocent Crescencia in such a way that this innocent victim met an early death. Years ago, another crime similar to this one was committed, and for which justice sentenced her to prison.
Damn.
And that is the case of La Verduga de something. I already forgot.
La Mujer Verdugo.
Yes,
La
okay.
Temible Bejarano.
Yes, that was the case of La Mujer Verdugo, La Temible Bejarano.
Wow. She's so scary. And they let her get away with it because she was a woman and she did it again.
Yeah. If they hadn't done that, she wouldn't have gone out and found this other girl to torture her and abuse to death. So
yeah. Wow. Gruesome.
Terrible stuff. Yeah. Speaking of terrible stuff, do you have any spooky recommendations?
Yeah, I have two. I started watching Interview with the Vampire from AMC. I'm a fan. I love that show. And then I was looking up the series, but it's a little too much for me to get into the series. There's like 13 fucking books or some shit. But I've heard only the first 6 are good.
Oh,
so okay. I don't know, but I don't really read series like that. But the show is amazing.
Oh my God. Yeah. You know what? Maybe I'll finally watch it.
Even Paul liked it.
That's crazy.
And I say that because he doesn't really like
Paul doesn't like
vampire. Well, one, it's hard for him to find a show that he likes. But right now we're into Interview with the Vampire and then the show about Hawaii with Jason Momoa.
Oh, okay.
It's on Apple TV, but we're watching it bootleg. And now I'm watching season 2 also bootleg because it's not on Netflix.
Oh, of Interview with the Vampire?
There's only season 1.
Okay, I'm gonna watch it.
You would like it. I know you would like it. And then my other rec is a book I listened to called Wake Up and Open Your Eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, by Clay McLeod Chapman. And it is interesting. It reminded me of American Rapture, which both me and Christina liked.
I loved American Rapture.
It's been, I think, one of my favorite horror reads of the year. Apparently, I listened to that this year. This year has been so long.
It's been a long year. It has.
Yeah. So this description: Noah has been losing his polite Southern parents to far-right cable news for years, so when his mother leaves him a voicemail warning him that the Great Reawakening is here, he assumes it's related to one of her many conspiracy theories. But when his phone calls go unanswered, Noah makes the drive from Brooklyn to Richmond, Virginia. There he discovers his childhood home in shambles and his parents locked in a terrifying trance-like state in front of the TV. Panicked, Noah attempts to snap them out of it. Then Noah's mother brutally attacks him. Also sexually attacks him, by the way.
Ew.
That's why people think it's like weird and they don't like it. But that's how it reminded me of American Rapture.
Because it was the same thing. They're not doing it because it's her son. She's just doing it because she's a zombie now, apparently.
Right, yeah.
And zombies don't discriminate.
Like
don't
possessed
care.
or a zombie type of thing.
Yeah.
But Noah isn't the only person to be attacked by a loved one. Families across the country are tearing each other apart, literally, as people succumb to a form of possession that gets worse the more time they spend glued to a screen. In Noah's Richmond-based family, only he and his young nephew, Marcus, are unaffected. Together, they must race back to the safe haven of Brooklyn, but can they make it before they fall prey to the violent hordes? And so...
Oh my God, that sounds almost too scary because it sounds too like
that's the
right
thing.
now.
It's very on the nose, but I didn't like hate it. But it is very timely, if you will. And I liked because so it's about Noah. It talks about Noah and then his nephew's family, so his brother, who are like an hour away from his parents, and they talk about the parents falling into this basically extreme right-wing pipeline from watching, and in the book it's called Facts News, but it's like Fox.
Yeah, again on the nose. Like you said.
But it's like on purpose, like almost satirical.
No, of course.
Yeah. And then the brother Noah's brother falls into the same pipeline, like just like his dad. And they talk about, it's like, it's hard to listen to because it's these normal things that become extreme. And like,
I'm telling you, it's just, it's
too,
a little, too real. It's scaring me right now.
It's normal to sit down and, watch TV on your lazy boy chair. And then Noah's sister-in-law, she falls into the pipeline from a wellness space.
Oh,
and,
again.
And then the teenage son from being chronically online.
This is too real. This is too real.
What we're seeing. And then also it like when they talk about Noah's brother's family, it talks about the family basically living their own lives, and it's like superficially they're connected, but not really. They're not really investing in each other and like communing with each other. No. Yeah, exactly. And so that's how they each get into their own pipeline. So I don't know. There was like so much.
I was gonna say, thus making them susceptible to the pipeline.
Yes, exactly that. And then it also about Noah, as he comes across his family like that. He comes across his nephew. He has to try to survive. And then it touches on the hypocrisy of basically middle ground, like liberals and centrists.
I was going to say, don't tell me it's touching on the hypocrisy of liberalism.
It straight up does, yeah. And so like as a survival mode, he hears the voice of Anderson Cooper in his mind. And he's like, oh, you thought you were safe in your little haven and blah, blah, blah. Oh, you should have stepped in sooner to help your family. You thought you were better than them, but actually you're just like them, like shit like that. And I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
I don't know. I liked it. Okay. I will say, so then they also, besides like getting into Noah and his family, they also have like transcripts of like videos of people falling or becoming these zombies and stuff like that. But it reminded me kind of like of World War Z, like that kind of thing in that sense. And so, but those, I feel like those parts do get a little repetitive, but it's just showing like the pattern of people succumbing to this. I thought it was good.
I'm gonna request it right now from my library. Support libraries.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Well, I don't have recommendations that I've watched yet, just things that I want to watch.
Okay.
So after watching Weapons, or after Weapons came out and I posted about how obsessed I was about Weapons, and then Aiden and I did an episode recapping and just obsessively talking about Weapons on Patreon. Then a couple listeners told me that there's a Mexican movie called Tia Alejandra, which reminded them of Gladys from Weapons. And I was like, okay, I need to see this. It's on YouTube, but I haven't seen it because I want to go down to Scarecrow Video. And no, they do have it. I already checked.
Oh.
And actually physically pick it out. At first, I just love one of my favorite things before all the DVD stores and rental places started closing down was just walking through the aisles of DVDs and looking at them. So yeah, this place is awesome. It has like, I don't know, 3 or 4 floors of DVDs. It's the largest media collection in the world.
Wow.
And they have this movie. So I haven't seen it on YouTube because I want to go grab the movie physically.
That whole experience.
Yeah. That's what I want. I'm going to get a membership too.
Okay.
Which is going to give me a discount. Like punches that I will save on my selections. So yeah, that's on my list. I'm obsessed with the idea of going. I just haven't gone because again, I've been a little under the weather, but I can't wait to go.
I've been obsessed with the idea of going.
Yes, I have been thinking about it nonstop. I'm looking forward to it, but again, I've been a little under the weather, so I haven't gone. But as soon as I'm better, I will be on my way to go grab the movie from the shelf. Yes, just like that. And that's the one thing that I am preemptively recommending. I haven't seen it, but yeah, Tia Alejandra, because people said it reminded them, or they thought about it when watching Weapons. And then the other thing I want to see, but I don't know if I want to go watch it in the theater, if wait till it's out streaming somewhere, but Him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's getting mixed reviews, but again, I just don't always trust reviews when it comes to horror movies. I want to see it for myself.
Yeah.
And someone was saying that the themes that Him is touching on are a little on the nose, just like you were talking about with the book. So, but again, I haven't seen it. I want to see it. So those are the 2 things that I'm like looking forward to watching sometime soon. And then I'll give my thoughts when I do. But yeah, those are my recommendations. Cool. Also, Scarecrow Video, just as a whole, if you're in the Seattle area, because that place is awesome. All right. Yeah. Other than that, reminder, you can catch us live November 1st, 2025. That info is in the show notes, and we hope to see some of you there. Yes. And yeah, other than that, watch out for old ladies at the cemetery because they might be ghosts.
Yeah, and they will tell you that's where they live now.
This is my home. All right, stay spooky. We'll catch everyone next time. Bye.
Bye.